To move on from where we stopped, we already set up our project folder. There is something I obviously left out, which is our database folder. We need to create a folder for that will hold our file system and form our database. So let's do that now. So in here, we're going to be saving everything. Well, it has to be outside. In here, we'll be saving everything that has to do with database. When the registration is submitted, when a login, then we'll log errors too. Let's just add that. There's no problem. We'll log activities. So we're creating some functions, activities to know who logged in, to know when they log out, so that the super admin can know who worked on the system. This is very important in a lot of systems. You need to know who did what on the system, especially when things start happening. For example, because we are building an hospital, I'm going to be using this as an example. As a back-end developer, these are the things you need to think about. How do we know who did something, who performed each operation on the system? You need to log the very, very important things for the users to see, which is in this case our super admin. And you also need to log server issues for you to see, or for the IT person to see, server issues. So we are going to be talking about logging these things, forming login system and creating something for yourself. Of course, a lot of frameworks already have these things in place. But since we are going to be building something very simple and easy, and we are not using frameworks yet, we'll build something for ourselves and see how it works. So let's also create a folder for that and call it logs. Well, singular, because all of our folders have been singular, and this should be outside. This is an error. I'm going to try to open that up and see if I can find it here. It should be outside of that folder. So let's send H, and I would prefer to use this as lowercase because everything is lowercase in my system. Why would I start using uppercase now? SMH. That's better. Okay, so I need to move this out of here and move it here. Right, so our database is housed, our log is here, and then we can save our log files in there. So if you can learn how to save using simple fwrite, then this should be quite easy. Then you save to the file, you read from the file, and it's easy. So we are also going to be treating how to print out this content into the browser for the MD to see, because the MD can log into our server to view log files. So the MD will have access to check certain types of error or log or activity logs, while the server admin will be able to see errors and server issues. Okay, so our next step is to start talking about some of these things we mentioned. The first thing we'll be looking at is variables. Of course, by now you already know how to start a PHP project. It is by adding this tag. You can add your PHP tag in any HTML file. You can add it in any part of the HTML page. It could be here in the body, it could be here. As a matter of fact, it could even be outside of the HTML tag completely. It will still work. PHP is able to work anywhere you put it. So it will still work even if you have it outside here. And also you can use your PHP to print out certain HTML tags. So let's try it out. This is well, no, I don't need to close that. Let's print out certain tags. For example, I'm going to print out, I need a tag that you can see. Okay, HR. I'm going to do a BR, then HR. I'll save it and open my browser and refresh. So you see the HR came to the next line. Of course, it's on the next line. And this is here. And then we can continue by starting with a paragraph. Let me just wrap that. So it comes to the next line. So we have a paragraph. And I'm going to say, this is a specialist hospital to cure ignorance. And let's save that and see what happens. So it's there, it's fine. Of course, we might add some styling here later, but for now, let's just do this basic thing. And I'm going to move on to another paragraph and say, come as you are is completely free. That's all we are doing there for now. So let's add some links. Okay, this is redundant because I can move this and make it just a normal HTML file so that I don't have to worry about echoing out PHP here. I can do this. Okay, that's not working. I'm not going. My Control C suddenly stopped working. Anyway, let me try it again. Right, so it worked now. This is still going to be the same thing because it's just basic HTML. You see, it's still the same thing, nothing changes. So let's add some links. Another paragraph. Let's add links are done by having a tag. I'm going to link to certain pages, and then I'm going to say login, and I'm going to have register. This is going to link to different pages. This is going to login.php, and this is going to register.php. What else do we need to have? I think that's all we have for now. You can't see log until you log in. You can't reset password until you log in. Well, forgot password. Yeah, that's right. Forgot password. Whatever English is correct. So I'm going to call this forget. Oh, forgot. I mean, it's past tense. Okay, so that's all we need. Logout is until after you log in. We don't need to worry about that yet. We need to, of course, we need to also check if they are logged in before displaying all these things. You'll be learning how to do that using basic conditionals. What else do we need? We need a dashboard. That's fine. Until you log in, you can't see the dashboard. Right, so that's it for now. That's all the links we need to add to that page. Let's refresh. So we have our link. It looks too clumsy. So let's make some demarcation. This is better. So we have our login, we have our register, we have our forget password. Let's quickly create those pages. Forgot.php, and then do some HTML5 and say SNH forget password reset. I mean, that's fine. Reset the password. Let's create the login page and basic HTML and say SNH login and say login. Again, I could just rename this. I could duplicate this. Where is my duplicate? Well, I can't find it. So I'll just do Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and rename this. Where's my rename? I can find it. I would softly click on it. Hopefully, it allows me to rename. Or I could come here and do a rename, save as, and just call it. I think that should be register. We have login already. We change this to register. Register. Change this to register. I think that's all we have. Password is set. Yeah, I've forgot already. That's fine. So refresh this. Click here and it goes to my login form. Go back. Click here and it goes to my register form. Click here and it goes to forget password form. That's all we have for now. Now let's talk about variables before I stop this video. I'm trying to make each video as small as 10 minutes. So let's talk about variables. That's the first thing I have on my list. So there are already available resources. I'm not going to be doing too much talking. I'll just be showing you where you can find resources and explain certain things about them. And then we'll try things out. You already used a lot of variables in the past, so we'll just be very fast with variables. My best place to get answers to PHP issues is the official PHP documentation, which is php.net. So I'm going to php.net now. You find everything about PHP here, and you can easily just search here for variables, and you get recommendations of things you're supposed to read. So this is variables now. Another place you can get information for is the W3 schools. W3 schools. .com, I think. Then go to PHP. Let's see. I don't know if I'm right. Yeah, I'm correct. So you can follow this tutorial from the beginning to the end. It's very, very good. It gives you basic introduction to everything you need to know about PHP. And all these things are also here. We'll be using the file system, so we might still come back to this page to talk about file system. Wait, I said file system. We might talk about OOP as time goes on, but for now we're looking at procedures. We'll obviously touch everything here as we go along. So this is what we're talking about right now, variables. You can go over it and read about them. I'll just be practicing one or two things about variables, and then we'll move on from there. So these are the two main resources that I recommend for PHP lessons. If you want text, if you want video, obviously YouTube is the best place to get those things. So variables now, variables are PHP. Okay, to start variables in PHP, a variable is basically a container that you can use to hold anything you want. In some languages, a variable has to hold a specific type of content. So in some languages, for example, a bow can be used for a specific type of content. So bowls are normally supposed to be used for anything you like. You can use them to pack, take water. You can use them to take palm oil or anything other thing you want. But in some languages, look at your bowl as the variable. In some languages, those variables can only hold a specific type of content. So, for example, you can say this bowl or variable can only be used for integers. And so if you try to put any other type of content, an integer is just a number. If you try to put any other type of content into that bowl that is not a number, you get an error. But this is not the case with PHP. With PHP, the bowl can be used for anything you like. You just need to have the bowl. You can have a single type of content in the bowl. You can have mixed type of content in the bowl. You can decide to have no content in the bowl. PHP is fine with them, with all those scenarios. So in PHP, it's not type specific when it comes to using variables. So to start a variable in PHP, what you do is to use the $sign. Let's create a test. We won't be writing tests, but this is what we'll be doing our practicing for basic concept before we go to adding into our project. Right, so you know what? I'm going to create a folder for tests. We'll not be writing tests, like I've said. I know some people don't even know what tests are, so I'm going to be doing this. So let's rename. Let's put this side like no, it's not. Let's move this here into tests, and then rename these variables. This way, I can push this code to GitHub, and you can see view it for yourself. So a variable, to start a variable, I start with the $sign and then the name of the variable. Let's say my variable name is first name, which will be used for accepting the first name of the customer or whoever is trying to sign in or register. So what I've done here is to create a variable. The name of the variable is first name, and I've assigned that variable to an empty value. I can also decide to do this. I've initiated the variable, but it is not assigned. So initiating a variable, I'm going to add this comment here, and then down here I'm going to assign the variable. Assigning a variable is like when you put the contents into a variable. So in my case, my first name variable is going to be an empty string. Well, I need to add something to our list of concepts. We need to talk about data types, which is data types. So this is the easiest way to start a variable in PHP. This is like the only way. There are also constants, but we are talking about variables now. So I'm initializing a variable here, and I'm assigning a value to the variable here. I could also do this, initialize, and assign at the same time. So I could say something like last name equals to last name 25 equals to this. So I'm initializing a variable, I'm assigning a variable. I could also do the same, the two at the same time this way. Now you notice that when I was naming my variable, I used this hyphen here. It is a common practice to differentiate, to have a way of separating words when you are creating a variable. And there are certain rules when it comes to naming the variables. You can't just name variables anyhow you like. Some of those rules, I can't remember everything. You can check some of these resources for all those kind of details. Some of those rules are rules. Let's see. First, you should not start your variable name with a number. This is not going to work. You can see the color is even different. My text editor is telling me that obviously something is wrong here. So this is wrong. Cannot start variable name with a number. Next, you cannot start with a special character like this. You can start with hyphen. You can start with well, that's this is called reference. I'm not going to be using that. You can start with things like this. You can't do this. Wrong. Cannot start with special characters. You can, however, you can start with, obviously you can start with this. However, you can start with this. You can use this for a variable. This is correct. You can also do, you can start with uppercase or lowercase. Anyone is fine. Correct. Let's see, one final thing I should probably talk about is when you want to combine words in naming a variable, well, it is advisable to use descriptive names for a variable. So you can see here, I'm using first name for first name. It's easy for anyone that comes to try to continue working on this project to see what this variable is if it's a first name. But imagine if I did um, something like fn. That could mean a lot of things. It could mean function, it could mean first name, it could mean final news or something like that. So that's not descriptive enough. So as a general rule, it is advisable to use descriptive names. It is also advisable not to use names that are too long to remember or to effectively use. So say for example, I'm trying to create a variable for the medical director's login username. I should not do something like this, medical directors, well, pardon the spelling, login username. This is too much. I mean, it could be reduced to MD username. This is still better. Um, I don't know if there's any specific rule or the count of variable name you should have, but personally, I believe having something this long is not really good. This is still okay, which definitely means many characters login username or the username. So it means the same thing. You can make it this short. Just try to use something that is easy to understand. Name your variables in a way that anybody that comes to your code will easily understand, even without adding comments. By the way, we need to talk about comments. In PHP, there is a way to write comments. A comment is just a line of instruction that you add into your code that does not get interpreted by the compiler. So if I add a comment, like I have comments on this page now, this is obviously wrong, so that's why I get in this line. Like I have comment on this page. This is a comment. This is a comment. This is a comment. Comments don't get interpreted. So if I go to my page, my index page, and add a comment here, say I do PHP, and then say comment PHP quotes go here, and save it and refresh my page. That doesn't show on my page because it's a comment. It's something that is in your code but doesn't get interpreted by the compiler. Where's my test? I'm going to close all this. Doesn't get interpreted by the compiler and doesn't get thrown out there. So comments are a very reasonable way to add instructions to your code and add directions, add directives to your code. And this is a single line comment. In PHP, you can create a single line comment with 2/ this way, single line comments, and then you can have multiple line comments this way, multiple line comments. So this way I can keep typing, and everything in between this opening and this closing will be considered as comments. Meanwhile, in this case, I would have to do this to add another comment. So it depends on what you're trying to say and how long it will be. That will determine the type of comment you use. So basically, this is how variables work. And that's all about it. Don't forget to check these resources out. to be able to effectively understand all these things and try different things out. You can use variables to perform operations. You can print them out. You can, use them to check certain different things. So check out these resources and read them very well and look at them. So right, you need to really focus on this scope of variables. I will not be touching it. It's quite straightforward. Just check this website right here. There are local variables, there are global variables, there are static variables. We will still be using some of them. There are examples here. We've already used a global variable earlier in one of our classes. You can also still check it. Yes, obviously I need to add functions here. Yeah, functions. So that's it about variables. We've set up our project. We've created a folder for our different classes and things we'll be talking about. So when I push to GitHub, you can easily know where to find it. We've created our pages. Right. So we also need to create a particular folder. I'll be calling that folder library or lib. Lib folder is going to be used for breaking down components. So for example, our index page has certain links which we can call menu. Let me just create a comment here. This is HTML comment. This is also add comment in HTML because I'm not adding it in a PHP tag. So I'll use the HTML type of comment. So this is my menu. I need this menu on all my pages. So I need this menu on my my register page because I need my users to be able to go back to where they are coming from. I need it here. So that now when I get to my register page, I see the menu. I can go back to my login, I see the menu, and I obviously need my index, which is my own page. So let's add that. Well, you can obviously see that I'm just thinking of things as I'm going along, which is fine. It's okay. So let me recopy all this menu. So now I made a change to this menu. I have to go back to all those pages and have those changes. This is what lib is going to be used for. I'm going to be separating this into different components and keeping them here, and then importing the menu onto all the pages, so that if we make a change in the menu, it affects all of them just by making a single change in that single file. So in our next video, I'm going to be showing you how to do that, and then we'll move on to talking about data types.